I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first item on the agenda is public comment on agenda items. And with none, we will move on to consensus items.
So there were a few, again, this time of year, lots of personnel things happening. There were a few changes since the packet you received. So under C3A2, we are removing that recommendation. And under C3B4 and C3B5, we had 2 resignations that were added in the last day or so. I think that's it as far as changes on consensus items.
Okay. Any questions or comments or motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve the consensus items as presented.
Motion by Michelle, is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Eric. Motion by Michelle, seconded by Eric to approve the consensus items as presented. All those in favor announce by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Approved 7-0. Looks like we don't have a program update tonight, so we will move on to old business, the elementary student handbook, second reading.
So I heard a couple of you questioning, or not really questioning, well, questioning a little bit of the attendance policy. So I did go back to Abby Bowers and Tim Myers, and they agreed. So we did rework the attendance section in those 2 books. So basically now the attendance verbiage matches, and then there's a disposition chart in each of them, and the dispositions were changed so that any absences considered exempt or excused carry no consequences. So if an absence does get coded as exempt or excused, there are no consequences, excuse me. So that's basically the change. Now both of them have a chart, and both of them match in their verbiage as to what's the definition of exempt, excused, unexcused, habitual truant, and their truancy prevention plan for K-6.
And to be excused, it requires that call from the parents that we've heard.
For the 5-day limited,
Yeah,
yes.
that we've heard from administration is problematic at times.
Yeah. Yeah. And in talking with Abby Bowers, again, handbooks are always guidelines, and she is the one that is doing a lot of the attendance part of the job in that building, and she always prefers us to work with parents if there's an issue to see what we can do to get kids there. And again, 98% of the time, great cooperation and things get resolved. So it's a lot of stuff to have to address a small problem.
That is. Any questions or comments or motion to approve the elementary student handbook?
Are we doing them individually?
I don't care. Do you want to do them individually
Or do them all?
or all at once?
Your call.
Does anybody have questions on the other 2? No. Okay. So is there a motion to approve all 3 student handbooks as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, motion by Tim, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Jill. Motion by Tim, seconded by Jill to approve the elementary, middle school, and high school student handbooks as presented. All those in favor announce by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Approved 7-0. Next item is the second reading of several policies.
That's a good way to put it. So again, we had some minor verbiage changes, definitions really, to bylaws, and that was really to reflect just some new legislation. We looked at policy 5200, which deals with attendance, and that's in reference to the new legislative changes on the truancy prevention plans that we have to put in place. We had 5136, which is again in deference to legislation about having to have policy about any type of device that can be used for person-to-person communication. And then finally, we have 3120.02 about adjunct teachers. Again, at this time, I am not planning to use this policy to license a teacher, but it does give us, if we were in a shortage situation, the opportunity to license someone who comes from a non-traditional background, who may not have their license or a degree in something, but they may have practical experience. And I gave an example, someone who's maybe served as a personal trainer for years and years could, under this new licensing option, without a bachelor's in PE and health, potentially be licensed to be a PE health teacher, depending upon their background. And they have to show, just like with the workplace specialist, they have so many hours experience. So again, it's an option in a teacher shortage climate. I don't like parts of it because it really kind of removes them from the collective bargaining unit, and I think there is something to be said for being accepted as your colleagues, being in that having the same opportunities. But again, it's an option when you don't have any others.
Do they have to have like a bachelor's degree,
No.
or is it just, okay?
They don't, they can.
Right.
Like, I'm trying to think. Like, say someone had a degree in physics and had worked as an engineer, we could hire them as an adjunct teacher. They didn't have a degree in education, and they wouldn't have to go through the transition to teaching to get the pedagogy part. They could just be hired to be an adjunct teacher and teach engineering, for example, because of their work in the field. But no, they don't have to, like the health and PE teacher, for example. They didn't have a degree, but they've done that work and had this, maybe they've got different certifications for wellness or life coaching or something.
Okay.
I think that's it
Okay.
on the different policies.
Any other questions, comments, or motion to approve?
Like, I got two questions,
Yeah.
like with the personal communications and cell phones and stuff like that, like, I know that, we're not gonna allow them to have them in class. What, is that based on teachers, like what they recommend, or it's just like what our board recommends?
Well, there's different, the policy is pretty broad because it kind of, the different buildings have different perspectives.
Mhm.
So for example, the elementary would prefer they not come to school at all.
Mhm.
And again, some of that is just from a developmental standpoint, what can they do with
Right.
them really, and how are they able to regulate themselves from it?
Yeah.
But if they bring it, fine. Let's say they have an after-school engagement or they're a latchkey kid or something, they prefer they keep it in their backpack in their locker.
Mhm.
So that's that one. The middle school they can bring it to school. They want it in their locker, and again, some of that is middle school development. A lot of them struggle with regulation, and it has produced a lot more drama. We have a lot more infighting and a lot more kids texting back and forth, social media. The high school, they can have it on their person. They just don't want it seen in class unless being used for something the teacher gave them permission
Yeah.
for. So the policy, I feel, and working with Scott, we felt gave the buildings the option to have that scope of choices.
Gotcha.
Heretofore, like in the high school, it had been more of a teacher-to-teacher choice. And now I think Katie wants to say, we really just need to take a stance, and this is what we're all going to do, and it's not going to be this teacher's lenient on it, and so they're the one that's disliked, and while this teacher, or they're liked, while the teacher that is strict on it is disliked, and there's a difference because of enforcement. So, I don't know if I answered your question.
Kind of, I just didn't know how they were gonna enforce it, like meaning, are they gonna, because my concern is if you have every kid put their cell phone in a certain box, and all of a sudden the bell rings, and then kids just start grabbing phones that look like their phone, and then they get them mixed up by accident, now we have a really rough dilemma in our hands. Versus, them just, all right, hey, keep them in your bag, then the policy is, if I see it, it comes to me, if I see it again, like, that was my only concern. I just didn't want,
We're not
Yeah.
saying they have to be put like in the shoe organizers. Now,
Okay,
I will
good.
tell you, schools
Good.
here in our area are doing that. That's what they're doing, is that they go in a slot pocket.
Yeah.
They haven't had a lot of issues of it, but the policy would allow it because we
Yeah.
didn't specify what it could and
Okay.
couldn't, just that it couldn't be out during instructional time, basically.
okay, gotcha.
I don't think very many of our staff want that liability and have to deal with that liability.
That's what I was gonna say.
Right. Yes.
Okay, good.
And then you also get, I hate to say it, the older kids get, a lot of them have more than one phone.
Yeah.
And they change the SIM cards, so some of the putting it in the pocket isn't necessarily eliminating, it's just the, don't be on it.
Yeah.
Whatever phone you're using, don't be
Right.
on it
Yeah.
when you're supposed to be in class.
Yeah.
Any other questions? I do think we are going to put together, I already have started and I kind of showed you the infographic we had created for trying to explain the changes to attendance. And I'm going to do something similar with the cell phones, because I think there's enough talk in the media that parents know something's changing, but they don't know exactly what it looks
Yeah.
like. So we're going to do some things here right before school starts to give them some information on that, so that they know exactly what conversations to have with their kids about this is what's going to happen, and this is
But
what.
it's not really a change, is it? It
It-
originally wasn't, I mean, I think we voted on
We've had
this.
a pretty similar policy
Yeah,
all along. I
but
think
it wasn't being enforced.
not at the high school as stringently, but letting them know that is going to change, so have that conversation with your child about what your expectations are, and
And I think this is a prime opportunity too, only because I'm feeling like some of the concern that's gonna come out is, well, what if we have an incident where we have something going on and it's an emergent situation and this, so I think maybe that's kind of an opportunity for some additional education on emergency procedures or policies in the event that there is a lockdown and those types of things.
And unfortunately, or fortunately, if there is a lockdown, what first responders will tell us is they don't want everyone on their phones because it will stop them from
Right.
being able to communicate as well. Things that are individual emergencies, part that's in the handbook, but it'll be part of the messaging, is we still have phones in every room. That this office, if you contact the office and you have a family emergency, we will certainly get that kid
Yeah.
to you down to a phone where they can communicate with you. And again, most of elementary is a little bit different, but middle school and high school, there's still opportunities for kids to communicate, passing period, lunch, before and after school, so there's still opportunities if you need to say, hey, somebody else is coming to pick you up, or can you get a ride with so-and-so? There's still those opportunities.
It's always evolving, so I think it's important we keep having these conversations and new things like AI that gets introduced, but they're using their phones for projects, and the whole academic dishonesty can be so gray. So it can be, because they're constantly passing, that's one of the things I looked at when I was reading through the handbook, was that students are constantly passing stuff back and forth for their projects, for their papers, and but it's a lot to gamble if the teacher sees it as academic dishonesty. So I'm sure it's all a case-by-case basis, and we just continue to keep having these conversations and figure it out, because it's going to keep changing, so.
Yeah, the scape of academic dishonesty or plagiarism or whatever, that whole definition is very fluid right now because
I bet.
of AI
Yeah.
largely, but also just the ability to collaborate 24/7 simultaneously on documents. And so, where does one person's ideas begin and end?
Right.
Kind of thing, help
Right.
versus supplanting kind of thing. And so it's,
I feel bad for the
New
teachers, because I'm sure
information.
they've got to figure out
English
how to.
teachers, I can tell you, the training we're starting to receive, and it's not, we're still developing, but the training we're starting to receive is the old days of just doing a paper are rapidly ending, that it's going to be more innovative projects that AI can't
Right.
do. So it's, I don't know. It's, again, we've gone through a couple of trainings and it's pretty interesting. It's kind of scary, but I keep thinking, okay, so was when they introduced paper and pens as opposed to chalk and slate and
Yes.
calculators and typewriters and all those things. So it's just one of those things that things we'll figure it out, because we have always, but.
Having to go to the computer lab at midnight.
Yeah, exactly.
Turn that paper in last second.
So we'll figure it out. It's just it is gonna change
Yeah.
things pretty quickly.
Any other questions or comments, or motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Jill, is there a second?
A second.
Motion by Jill, seconded by Dave to approve the policies as presented. All those in favor announce by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Approved 7-0. Next up, we have new business. First item is permission to fill open positions prior to the 24-25 school year.
I really can't believe we're already to this point that the next time we talk, school will be starting. But this is just our annual request at the July meeting that if we would have open positions, which we currently do have some open positions that we're hoping to fill before the kids come, that we would have the ability to get them started and process them before our next August meeting, and then we would bring them to that board meeting, of course.
Any questions or comments or motion?
Overall, having good luck, you're saying?
Overall, we have most positions filled. There's a couple, but not very many. They're doing a great job of, we had a lot of retirees this year, so
Yeah.
that's just sometimes the ebb and flow of things, but they've done a good job.
I'll make a motion to approve the
Okay.
last one on hirings.
Motion by Eric, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Michelle. Motion by Eric, seconded by Michelle to fill the open positions prior to the 24-25 school year. All those in favor announce by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Approved 7-0. Next is the approval of the 24-25 classified rate schedule.
So there were a few additions to this one that I'll explain, but, so the things in yellow on the sheet I gave you are things that either had a change or are new. So the simple things to address are the things under food service and best revenue. So when the auditors come every year, they like to see a one-stop shop that tells them what everyone should make. And heretofore, we have not had food service on our classified staff rate schedule, and we just started best, and that experiment has been successful, so obviously we want to continue, but trying to get those things that have already been the practice of what we're doing on this schedule. So those things, again, are just things that we've been doing, but now they're on this classified schedule and likely to stay. The next change that is on here is we have a courier position in the district, and that position is split between operations fund, because we use that position to deliver mail between the buildings and deliveries and things, and then the food service pays for part of that salary, because that is the person that also delivers meals to our parochial schools who take our food service. So I decided, whomever, that there was no reason not to, for those two rates to match. One was higher than the other, and I felt it's a courier, they're doing the same job, they should be getting the same pay, and it also makes payroll a lot more simplified for that person. The second piece in yellow is under custodial and ground staff. This year, I did give a small hourly rate raise to a couple of our custodians to act as team leads. They do team cleaning in the summer as opposed to being on shifts. And so just giving, I think, 4 of them, 2 at the high school, 2 at the elementary, middle school, the opportunity to be the people that kind of say, okay, here's what I need to split the teams up. This is what I need you to do today. This is what I need you to do today. Kind of keep track of the inventory, tell Scott what they're running out of wax or solvent or whatever. If we have a lot of our folks take rotation on vacation during the summer, so helping fill team spots or figure out how they're going to restructure all those things. So that was one thing. And again, from an auditor standpoint, if they would pull someone's pay stub from summer, well, why are they making this instead of this? Mm-hmm. Then we have it on the rate schedule, and that can be referenced. Transportation secretary, that had previously been transportation assistant, which was a full-time job. We are going to make that more of a part-time position now. So it's probably going to be more like a 4 to 8 hour a week job, just depending on how many. They're going to take care of arranging a lot with the drivers, trip tickets, field trips, the paperwork for the trips. So again, just kind of reducing the time. The big change that I wanted to have in place this year before the school year started was our bus drivers. So we are keeping the hourly rate. And what I think I sent you in the notes, it was a fairly lengthy description of the process I used to come to this, but we kind of have two situations in our driver situation, those who drive a city route, which is typically much shorter, and those who drive more of our country routes, which are fairly long. You add to that pre-K, SPED, and CTE, those four folks might be driving anywhere from 5 to 7 hours a day, maybe 7.5 hours a day. So I also looked at IASBO had done kind of a survey of transportation and bus drivers' pay across the state, and in looking at it, a lot of people still are on the daily, but of the people who are on the hourly, most of those folks are driving 4.5 hours a day. So we have a much larger range than I think most people have. So what I did was kind of go through and see where would the daily rate and the hourly rate kind of, I guess, intersect if you're talking in math terms. And that kind of happens at that 2.5 hour mark in all the models I've done. And so what we're looking at is looking at a range of $33.65 an hour all the way up to $40 an hour, depending upon how many hours a day you drive. If you drive less than an hour, that's the $40 an hour job. If you're driving over, I think, 6.5 hours, that's the $33.65. Looked at extracurricular has been a question mark among the drivers for a few years to me, and we had been looking at other schools in our area fairly low on our extracurricular reimbursement rate, and so we are going to raise that this year. Also asking to raise the substitute. We do pay subs on a daily rate just because they're not necessarily in front line, and it just is cleaner that way. So raising from $84 a day to $87 a day. Also, this was a change. Jolene asked me to specify the sub rates for our shuttles and our midday routes, just because if it's a regular driver, they're just going to get their hourly rate for those things if they would pick that up for someone else. But if it's someone who is a sub, this is what they would get paid. And then the curricular and extracurricular stayed the same. One other area, I guess I didn't make a commentary on, but I think Eric, you were the one asking about it, and the more I thought about it, the more I agreed that our midday drivers, I felt was time we made the jump that they make the same hourly rate for that midday route as they do for their AM and PM routes, because you're picking up AM preschool shouldn't necessarily be different than dropping off the same class in the middle of the morning to go home. So they, that's the group that is at the $33.65, but they're getting $33.65 for their midday route too, which may be 1.5 hours to 3 hours of their day as well, depending on how many hours they're driving. So any questions on that? Because that this will come in front of you again probably in October, November, because I haven't given raises to any of the other classified staff on here. This was just trying to get bus drivers taken care of so that we could start the year and not change mid-semester, because that's pretty hard with bus drivers.
What's the BL, with paid student with BL? I'm just curious.
Paid student work-based learning. So there are situations where we have students who are doing things. So our life skills students or some of our special needs students who are in work-based learning, that might be where they're helping wash tables in the cafeteria or take out trash. Then other times we've had students who are in high school work-based learning or in ICE, which is an internship. And for example, 2 years ago was placed with our grounds crew, and so for 3 hours a day he worked with the grounds crew after he was done with his classes in the day, and he was interested in landscaping and didn't have transportation for himself to get to work in a different business, so this just worked out really well. So there's other situations where that happens.
Yeah, that's very cool.
But again, auditors like to see that you have it listed, that you pay those people.
So, Kim, I'm looking at the document that you sent. It looks like the total cost, I don't want to make sure I'm reading it correctly, the total cost for all bus drivers is gonna go up a bit, but not a huge amount. And you've got additional routes, new drivers hired, so I saw that we only need one trip out in the afternoon
Thank
instead
you.
of two.
Yes, so
That's
that's a big
great.
thing for students, for teachers and parents, and probably students, that everybody gets to go home when it's time to go home at the end of the day. Now, that's fingers crossed, because we have exactly the right number right now.
Right.
But,
So hopefully those routes will stick around. So there are some that are going up and there are some drivers that are going down in their overall yearly from this past year.
yes, and the ones that are going down are the ones that had adjusted the rates so that they would keep at that daily rate, but because their hours are so much fewer. And I think I communicated that pretty clearly to them, that this will be a one-year thing, and then we're gonna have to look at it because we're transitioning for a reason. The others, I don't think, except one other veteran driver, when we restructured the routes, because again, we did add drivers to try to get everyone out, they do have less time on their route. And they were offered a longer route that one of our admin are driving, and we're not interested in that. So we did what we could, moving some shuttles around, and they are picking up one of the one-way shuttles, so that will help that situation. But the goal was not for anyone to lose money per se, unless they again had that adjusted rate.
So Kim will continue to drive.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
I guess I
Yes.
could master, she's my cousin.
Yeah, we wouldn't want
Yeah.
that. Yes, she will. She's just gonna do some extra, a few hours.
I didn't
a
know
week.
if this was a change for her, okay.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah.
Okay.
No, she does a great job driving. We wouldn't want that
Mm-hmm.
to happen. Bus driving, again, all to everyone that might be listening outside, we are really trying to become very competitive with bus driver rates. And if you're interested in, that can be a very nice retirement income or part-time income, depending upon how even if you wanted, in a few years, we'll be having some of those midday drivers retire. That's a full-time, that's a $40,000 plus a year job now. So definitely something to consider, as we're all going to be competing for bus drivers.
And I'm glad to see that we're trying to work this so we can still offer it, especially with it not being a requirement. I mean, it's, yeah.
Did he say no?
Told him
He's golfing.
afternoon routes right in the middle of golf.
He can't do a morning now.
He can do the morning route. There you go.
But I'm not retired yet.
Oh, well, there's that, yeah.
Do
There's
it
that
before you go
requirement.
into the office, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments to approve the 24-25 rate schedule, classified rate schedule?
I'll make a motion to approve that.
Motion by Tim, is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Jill. Motion by Tim, seconded by Jill to approve the 24-25 classified rate schedule as presented. All those in favor announce by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Approved 7-0. Next up is the approval of an MOU with IWU Step Up Program candidate.
Yes. So this is something that Scott and I have been working on quite a bit. You all approved the MOU with IWU in June. So this is with the person who actually is the candidate for being in this program this year. And so we wanted to make sure that we had some agreements in place that would basically allow us, if we're going to have to pay for tuition and fees through this program, to guarantee that we're going to get our money back in service or in reimbursement. The other piece was, we found out, thankfully Scott understands all this that I didn't know, the program is designed that the school has to do that to be part of the program. That could be a tax liability on the candidate, however, at the end of the year, because that's considered taxable income. And so he helped us come up with a plan where it wouldn't basically, we're going to pay a first-year teacher's salary, deduct it, because then the taxes are already paid. And it wouldn't be something they'd have to try to calculate extra withholding or something like that. Scott, you have anything else?
No,
to
it's just
add?
nice to have a CPA in the family.
Yes.
That always
I'm glad you had one too.
Okay.
I'm glad we're able to do this. I just, when we first heard of this program, I thought it'd be some great opportunities.
It's an interesting
Yeah.
one, and I think we see so often some of our classified staff who, for whatever reason, didn't have the opportunity or the timing was off to go to school and get their degree, but you see such capacity and talent there. So I think it's, a few other states are doing this, and I think we'll start seeing more and more of that, again, especially when you're in a labor shortage. And we're really excited, and she's excited, so I'm really glad to be able to do this with her.
This is only through Indiana Wesleyan.
Right now, it's the only one I'm aware of that does this.
Okay. Any other questions or comments or motion to approve?
I'll make a motion, we approve this as presented.
Motion by Tim, is there a second?
No, sir.
Motion by Tim, seconded by Carla, to approve the MOU with IWU Step Up Program candidate. All those in favor announce by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Approved 7-0. Next item is the approval of the 24-25 Bowen Center MOU for mental health services.
Really, there were no changes this year. We do have a financial obligation with them, but there was no increases.
Okay. Any questions or comments or motion to approve?
I'll make the motion to approve the MOU as presented.
Motion by Michelle, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Eric. Motion by Michelle, seconded by Eric to approve the 24-25 Bowen Center MOU for mental health services. All those in favor announce by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Approved 7-0. Next up is the approval of the best childcare rate schedule.
So when we started with our idea of BEST, which is our Braves Extended School Time program, we were really kind of taking shots in the dark. And the rate schedule we came up with, you have to be able to understand the flow charts to figure it out, which is a little too complex for people trying to manage a lot of little kids and our office too. So we have significantly streamlined the rate schedule. Basically, it's going to be $35 a week, and then delay days are their own rate, cancellation days are their own rate, and breaks as a weekly offering are their own breaks, or is their own rate. So I don't know if you remember this in your, but it's a lot simpler, let me tell you, than it was before, because we had 1,000. It was a buffet, and now it's kind of, this is what it is. We are also increasing, we had one part of our pre-K that was only 4 days a week this year, and everyone will be 5 days a week. And so, I think that will help too, because that left some parents, I think, who were trying to find that fourth, fifth day, something to do with their children. But again, as I said in my notes, this has helped our pre-K program grow too. It's kind of all related with the On My Way pre-K and the CCDF vouchers, but we went from 66 pre-K kids in 22-23 to over 90 last year, and that number's, we're needing to add another half section this year, so that's a
great.
good thing.
Good. Any other questions, comments, or approve, or a motion to approve the new childcare rates?
I'll make a motion to approve, sorry, go ahead. You did it
Motion
first.
by Dave, seconded by Jill.
There we go.
There you go.
Motion by Dave, seconded by Jill to approve the best childcare rate schedule. All those in favor announce by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Approved 7-0. Next up is permission to sell the 2012 Microbird G5 White Bus number 37 as salvage.
Sounds like a really bad album.
It does.
Or something, I don't know.
And remove white bus number 37 and the 2014 Chrysler Touring minivan from the capital asset list.
So this was the hit the deer thing that happened a couple months ago. The van, the deer probably struck the van, or the white bus, excuse me, and then the van ended up rear-ending the white bus, not knowing they were going to stop that quickly. So,
On the way to the event. like-
on the way to
Yeah.
rifles, yeah, competition. The insurance company did total the white bus, especially because kids are holding it. It probably could have been fixed if it were just a civilian vehicle, but they did total it. And so we have to have board approval to allow us to sell it for salvage, and then number one, remove it from our capital assets list. And then the minivan is pretty much totaled too, and we just have to be able to remove it from the capital assets.
Okay. Questions, comments, or motion to approve?
We're gonna replace those at some point.
At some point. Minivan, this is gonna be, it's gonna make things hairy in the fall a little bit. But the problem is, remember, it was a year to get our yellow bus when we ordered it. It'll be a year. How long do you think, Beth?
I think we can get the white buses quicker, so.
We just had to be able to go a different make, right? Yeah. For some reason Ford can come in right now. It still's gonna be a bit of a wait, it's not gonna be immediate.
Yeah.
And then the van, we usually just try to find used things that have low miles and are in good shape. So it'll just be a matter of finding the right thing at the right time.
Any auto place wanna donate one?
That'd be nice.
That would be
That would be
awesome.
nice, wouldn't it?
We'll even put their name on the outside of it.
License plate cover in the front.
We'll let them wrap the thing if that's what they want.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah.
We wouldn't get in any trouble.
Well, I'd like to look on that, but I'm gonna say we're not doing that.
What's that, wrapping it?
Wrapping it.
Wrapping it.
Why not? Others are doing.
Yeah. Schools are?
Yeah, yeah. Other governmental agencies are
I
doing
say,
it.
that's
Yeah.
different than
The Braves logo on it, right?
No, I'm okay with them putting, slap, they're gonna donate it.
All right, any other questions or comments or a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to sell
Okay,
white bus and remove them both from the capital assets list.
okay. Motion by Eric, is there a second? I'll second. Seconded by Michelle. Motion by Eric, seconded by Michelle to give permission to take care of the two vehicles as noted. All those in favor announce by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Approved 7-0. Next item is the approval of purchase of real estate located at 811 East Monroe Street in Decatur.
So I, again, added this late because I'd forgotten that we were going to have a formal approval of the purchase and for probably myself to sign the closing. Anything else? Scott's been dealing with the
Yeah,
title
it's
company.
gonna be a simple process, we just need that final approval that you can sign. There isn't as much to sign as a buyer as there is for a seller, so.
So, again, recommendation to approve the sale of the 811 East Monroe Street property for $66,000 and for me to sign at the closing.
Okay. Questions, comments, or a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Michelle, is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Jill. Motion by Michelle, seconded by Jill to approve the purchase of the real estate located at 811 East Monroe Street, Decatur, Indiana, and for Kim to sign for the closing. All those in favor announce by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Approved 7-0. Next up, we have
Hey,
super.
Kim, is that a house or a vacant lot? What's on that property? What is it?
There's a house.
Okay, and what's it used for? What's the purpose of it? You know?
Well, because it is abutting our current campus and property, and we're kind of landlocked here, so an opportunity to purchase that real estate that would expand.
So it'll be torn
our
down, in
boundaries.
other words?
It's
Oh, I see. You demolish it.
eventually.
Okay, I see what you mean. Okay.
Okay. Next up, we have the superintendent's report.
So again, since school's starting here in a few weeks, lots of start of school stuff getting ready here. So things that are going on this summer, I wanted to talk about some of our facility updates. The track is finished, so if you've walked out on it, it feels spongy like a track should. Great walking track now, new fencing all the way around it, new concrete embutments around it. Looks really nice. Our pool heater finally arrived and was installed, and so the pool is being heated, or is heated as we speak, and they are going to be able to do a late summer pool camp or pool classes with the Belmont Swim Club. Landscaping is getting close to completion at the elementary middle school. It looks similar to the high school and looking a lot better, and really appreciative for the company doing that. And just in general, I want to say thank you to Doug Mishler and Dave Myers and Scott Miller and Blade Cable, because I think they have the campus looking really nice. And wanted to say a special thanks to Troy Cressley and Mark Andrews before he retired, and Blade. They hung, I don't know if you've come up the drive, but they hung, we have new Belmont banners on the light poles coming up through the drive, and that looks really nice, so thanks to them for doing that. Our concrete curbing around that, finally, that third median on the main drive was installed, thanks to Gage Concrete for that. We have bus inspection tomorrow. Yeah. Transportation folks have been busy. Bus multi-purpose room is going up, and that's going well. They've already put the ceiling back in the related arts part of the wing at the middle school, and that we thought might be out until right up till teacher work day, but that's already gone back in. So staff with rooms in that area will be able to get in them soon. We did have a water leak at the stadium that's now fixed, and new valves put in for easier shut off. And then I know some of the community out on the corner of Monroe Extended and the entrance to Belmont Middle had some concerns of just every time it rained, there was pooling water on that part of campus, and we did get that fixed. It actually was a French drain that never got connected to any sewer lines, so it is now connected and should drain, and hopefully that issue is resolved. Our summer learning camp was ended a week ago last Friday, and those kids had a great summer, and Ann Burkholder and her team did a great job of doing a lot of special programming and a lot of just reinforcement of skills. We thank them for that. We had and are still having a lot of different summer camps. I know we've had some volleyball camps going on. I know that show choir camp is coming up. We've had a baseball camp, a basketball camp. I don't know what all other camps we've had. I'm probably missing somebody, but a lot of kids have been going through here this summer, and so appreciative of those coaches, and a lot of our varsity players help facilitate those, so thankful for them and the parents that come and take the time to make arrangements to get their kids to and from those. Registration is likely to go live very soon, maybe even as early as this week, so be watching social media for that so that you can get your students registered. We have some back to school key dates. The Backpack Bash will be July 29th. That's when parents and students can come, and we have lots of different booths, and they can get a free backpack and school supplies. We're also having a special stop of popsicles with the principal, and that's just going to be a new opportunity to meet our new elementary principal, Renee Hutter. And so please come, and your kids can get a free popsicle, and I bet you as mom and dad can too. Depending on how hot it is. It's been hot out there sometimes, so it's probably a relief.
Is that the same time as the backpack bash? Okay. All right.
Back to school nights, the elementary is August 1st from 5 to 7. The middle school is August 6th from 4:30 to 6:30. And the high school is August 5th from 2 to 6, and that's more of an open house. Just come and go as you please. An opportunity to go test out your lockers, go find your classes from your schedule, and if you have questions, stop in, make an appointment and guidance. We are going to have a special speaker for our special needs teachers, and well, all teachers, and really probably other people that might want to come. Shelley Moore is a very entertaining speaker who talks a lot about inclusion of special needs students with gen ed classes, and she is, I've been told by my staff who have seen her at conferences, just really entertaining and really great, so we're excited on that. That is 8:30 to 11:30, and Justin, I'm gonna put you on the spot because I forgot to put the date on here. It's July,
Wait, I got it.
you got it?
15th and 16th.
15 and 16?
That's structured teach. That's
Oh,
a
is that
different-
not the
You're
same?
talking about
thing?
Shelley.
Sorry.
The 30.
July 30th
She's
is
July
a special,
30th.
this is a speaker.
Glad I could help.
Okay, sorry. And then, but that's not next on my list, so
We have all
thank
sorts of
you.
people coming up.
Yeah.
That's okay.
You got her back, yeah.
Thank you, though. IU for July 15th and 16th, they're coming and training a big group of our special needs teachers on Structured Teach, which is a program that helps teachers organize their classrooms and organize their routines so that those students who need really high routinization can have that and really help them thrive. So it really helps decrease behaviors, decrease anxiety. So those is where they learn to do things like visual schedules and how to implement them probably better than maybe we would otherwise. And thinking of things to put on a visual schedule or to make a routine out of that maybe you wouldn't stop depending upon the needs of the child. So, you know, we don't have the II program here, but if you had a student that was more severe, sometimes just teaching them to turn on the bathroom light when they go into the bathroom, that's something that a caregiver doesn't have to do. And trying to just create situations that you are being very intentional about the things that you're trying to teach the student to do. So very excited about that opportunity for our staff, and I've been a big proponent of Teach for a long time. It really is a really helpful thing for our staff to have more tools in their toolbox on how to address some of our more difficult behaviors, challenging behaviors, but also for our kids to be able to, again, anything you can do to help them regulate and help them navigate their day more successfully is a blessing too.
I'm sorry, Kim, what was the name of the guest speaker on the 30th?
Shelley Moore.
I love it.
Tiffany,
And
do you
she's
know
coming in
more
for
about her?
gen ed, right? For
She's-
all
This
staff.
is mostly special ed, but it's open to everyone, and we've opened it to other districts too. This is
That's
something our
great.
co-op is putting on.
Oh, I love that.
And it'll be at the auditorium.
Yeah.
She's very entertaining.
Good. That's very cool.
New things in 24-25 that we're going to be giving more information about. Like I said earlier, the cell phone and attendance policies. So I'll be putting out some information for parents about that. We will be piloting the new iLearn test that's coming out this year. This is where we're moving from a 1 time a year summative test to a 3 times a year, 4 times a year, 3 times formative, 1 time sort of kind of summative, although we're thinking it's really 4 summative tests, but who are we to tell? Anyway, more information will be coming about that, and this is, again, we're piloting it because we want our kids and our staff to have an opportunity to experience it before it becomes mandatory. Likewise Academy has been working with us on trying to get up and started. We are going to be, they'll be taking their first group of students in January, and they will be sending out more information about that. And then one of the things that's up and coming this year that I wanted parents to be aware of, we have been trying to figure out how to do a better or a different district communication, but didn't want something that was just one more thing to have to read. So quarterly, maybe 5 times a year, we'll be putting out something from the district that right now, probably I'm going to call it Learning and Living as Braves. And it's just going to kind of give an update on a sundry of things going around the campus, mostly targeted on our strategic plan. But it will be short articles with links to either documents or short videos that if you want to learn more about something, you can click on it. If you don't want to learn more about that thing, then you can skip over it. So hopefully it will allow people to, again, look at things more as their interest or their curiosity. And so we're thinking of doing that once a quarter and then maybe one here at the beginning of the school year, just to kind of introduce the new things and kind of how are things going to happen. I always do some kind of welcome back, but the videos get kind of long because there's a lot of information, and so this is just trying to hopefully give it a little more palatable tidbits and snapshots, snippets, so that people can invest or look as they want and as they're interested in different things. I think that's it.
All right. Other matters to come before the board? I just wanted to share, I handed out this packet to you at the beginning of the meeting. So if we can come to the next meeting with it filled out, or if you don't mind doing it ahead of time, it'll give me a chance to fill it in. Like you can, like Eric said, maybe
Just
take a
scan it.
picture of it or scan it
Scan it.
to me. I would appreciate that to be prepared for our executive session.
Just one other item. The ISBA conference is this year, September 23rd and 24th. You've probably seen that in your emails. Yeah, I would recommend any of the board members to go, or prospective board members to go. While you've been to those before, back in the day. But, yeah, this will be the 75th anniversary for the ISBA, and so there's some special things planned, but it's always time well spent. I mean, some of you that have been there, I think you found that it's been worth your time, but, yeah, I think we've got some really good programs scheduled. So 23rd, 24th at the Convention Center, North Adams pays your way.
And I would just add for that too, I did attend one of our NIPSA, which is our lobbying group that several school districts in Indiana are part of. There's going to be a lot of key things on this next legislative agenda. I'll be sending some things out to you, but we all need to be watching that because I think it's going to be more than we think, and it's going to be pretty big, important stuff for us.
It is a budget year.
Yeah, it's a long session, so.
Still long.
Yes, what I was explained is the two main agendas are going to be things that are important to families and to schools are Medicaid. The state is at a deficit in Medicaid funding, and they're anticipating major cuts to that. And so definitely we're interested in how those cuts happen and to whom they affect. And then property taxes are the other key thing, and schools are probably going to be one of the main parts of the property tax plan.
Yeah.
So just trying to make sure that we protect our interests as much as we can.
Okay. Board member and public comment?
When is the date the school starts?
Well, that would have been a great thing to include with.
Soon was fine, though.
Soon was fine.
Whenever y'all want to show up, just come on over.
So for teachers, it starts August 5th, which seems crazy soon. And then for students, it's, I know, it is August 7th, yes.
August 7th.
Yes.
I'm not trying to be overly curious or anything.
That's fine. That was kind of should have been a no-brainer on my part. Sorry, I was talking about all the stuff leading up to school and avoiding the actual day of.
I'm sure you're not the only one.
Probably. Summer seems so short.
All right, anything else? All right. Close meeting, thank you.
Yeah.